everything is up and running. Hopefully it's not too loud. Hopefully it's not too bad. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a video that I've been meaning to do for a minute. You know, I don't show my face like this often. My neck looks so fat from this right here. Now, of course, because of the PlayStation 4 camera isn't high definition, everything looks a little bit blurry, but this is the best I could do for this type of scenery. You know, you see you got the Skylander lenticular up there between the octopus pirate or whatever hell, and it kind of switches to like a fire night type of thing. We got the Wiz Yakuza pictures right here. I'm going to get more to kind of like plaster up all over the background right now. So the two in the middle is like two 3D lenticulars that switch from Goku, Ultra Instinct, Super Saiyan, Blue, Vegeta, and Dragon Ball Super Broly. This one is Seto Kaiba, Merrick, and Yugi with the corresponding Egyptian gods in back of them. And that's Avatar Aang. I got 5 more pictures in these plastic sleeves that I need to get more top loaders for. When I do, it's gonna be like 5 more pictures. I'm gonna hang them right up, like literally right up above them. So that's what I got back there, just in case anybody's wondering. But that's neither here nor there. I cannot switch this around at all. That's like as good as I can get it. Even if I put it down like that, I'm just assed out right now. My lighting is terrible. But with that being said, man, hope you guys are enjoying all the games that are coming out, the gameplay throughs. If you guys are familiar with this, you know, I'm not the like, comment, subscribe type of guy, but do so. Hit the notification bell for more videos like these, because I will be getting back into doing videos like these. So, whoa, why did that fall? Regardless of the fact. So today, in this video, I'm going to be talking about some future DLC predictions for Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Now, anybody who knows, when last time I did one of these videos, it was for Dragon Ball FighterZ back in like what, 2015, I want to say, possibly 2016, 2017, around those 3 years. I think 2017. When did Dragon Ball FighterZ first come out? 2017, if I'm not mistaken. But I did a future DLC predictions for that game, and several of the characters that I predicted was going to be in the game ended up coming in the game kind of later on. You know, from Janemba to Master Roshi, to the Great Saiyaman. Who else? I think Jiren. I predicted him to come in the game. Pretty much damn near it, with the exception of Raditz. The other Pride Troopers. I think Pycon, he hasn't been put in the game. I think I predicted that Toppo should be in the game with his God of Destruction transformation. And there was a couple other ones, but you know, for the most part, Videl, Janemba, Master Roshi. Oh, I had Tapion as a DLC prediction. He never made it into the game, but I do know for a fact that they had they did add Kefla. Kefla was one of my predictions. They put her in the game. I thought they were gonna add Khalifa and Kale as individual characters, but they ended up putting them in the game together. So it still counts. But with that being said, I'm going to be doing predictions for Power Rangers Battle for the Grid in light of some characters that I already knew were going to make it into the game, just because of, you know, seeing the climate, the way things are going for DLC characters in certain games. And as you see right here, so this all started, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. It actually started from a mobile game called Power Rangers Legacy Wars, which is still Legacy Wars, excuse me, which is still an active game on mobile today. And recently, I don't know how recent or how long ago they added it, because I stopped playing Legacy Wars like within the first year it came out, because I'm not a big mobile game guy. Recently, I think within the last month or so, they added Ryu and Chun-Li as the Ryu Ranger and as the Blue Hawk Ranger in Power Rangers Legacy Wars. And now they just announced that they're coming into Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, which doesn't surprise me at all, considering that, Ryu and Chun-Li, they have been, featured in other games as well, more prominently, more recently in one of the more, if not the most popular streaming game out right now, Fortnite. They were added as two skins, with their own animation. So I wouldn't be surprised that they're trying to capture some of that Ryu Chun-Li energy or notoriety and bring it over to this game, which is kind of crazy. That Ryu and Chun-Li is being added. It would flip me out if they added Guile to this. Now, before I continue with the predictions, with other predictions, I've seen some people complaining because, with Legacy Wars, they added Akuma and I think they added Akuma to the roster as well on there. And I know a lot of people were complaining that, Legacy Wars was becoming less about Power Rangers and it was becoming more Street Fighter-esque. But considering that Battle for the Grid, every character in Battle for the Grid has some sort of Street Fighter motif to them. And what I mean by that is that a lot of these characters play like characters from Street Fighter. Like, with Daishi, he kind of plays like Akuma. In many ways, he has some Akuma moves. With RJ, the Wolf Ranger, he plays like, I would say, Adon. He kind of plays like Adon from the Street Fighter Alpha series. And pretty much several other characters, they got that Street Fighter feel to them. You can tell that they were modeled after Street Fighter characters. So it's no surprise that Street Fighter characters actually made it into the game. Especially, again, considering that Chun-Li and Ryu were added as skins in Fortnite within the past month or so. So that doesn't surprise me at all that they made it into the game. Now, following the light of this, I know that Battle for the Grid is following the Boom Studio comics for Power Rangers, the Go-Go Power Rangers comic books, following the Shattered Grid comic books as well. I think Boom Studio made the Shattered Grid comic books too. And they had a couple surprises in there that I think are going to make it into the game. And I'm also going to make some of my own predictions and I may not give individual Rangers or individual Megazords or things like that, but I will, highlight the Power Rangers series that I think ought to be represented into Battle for the Grid in the future. This is just my opinion. I don't have any hidden, hidden knowledge of the game or anything like that. I'm just a guy who looks at, a game. This is basically who I would like to see make it into Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Now again, but prior to me doing this video, I kind of predicted that Ryu Ranger was going to be added. I didn't think Chun-Li was going to be added. I had no knowledge that they made Chun-Li into a Ranger for the Legacy Wars game, because again, I stopped playing it within the first year. So but Ryu was definitely one of my predictions prior to me doing this video and knowing they actually added him into this game. Because for the past 3 or 4, they had 4 DLC passes, 4 DLC batch of characters that came out, and I knew for whatever reason, something told me that they was trying to go for some shock value in the next batch of characters that they had. And when Ryu was added to the Legacy Wars game, I think a year or so ago, because he'd been on there. I think they've been teased him that he was going to be on there. I knew it was only a matter of time before they added him to to Battle for the Grid, especially now when they're trying to gather the attention of people and bring more people to the game. So that doesn't surprise me at all. So it's good seeing those two in the game. It fits with the playstyle of the characters, again, because a lot of these characters, if not all of them, are modeled after a model after Street Fighter characters anyway. So with that being said, they fit right into the game anyway. So another thing that so my first prediction that we're gonna have, let me back up. So my first prediction that I'm gonna have for you guys for Battle for the Grid is, if you read the Boom Studio comics, I think it was Go-Go Power Rangers issue 35, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember the article correctly. There was an arc where, you know, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the comic books, this is basically a timeline where Tommy, you know, the Green Ranger, never switched from the path of evil, and he ended up fusing the green Dragonzord coin and the white Tigerzord coin, and he became this character called Lord Draken, and he basically just took over this alternate universe where he kills all the Rangers and, you know, takes their powers and things like that. He's very ruthless. But where's that picture at? I know I got it. Hold up. No, I didn't download that. I screenshotted it. Here we go. All right. So my first prediction, since they added Ryu and Chun-Li, it would not surprise me if the next characters that they added were these four. Now, there was a time in the comics where Lord Draken ended up going to New York, and the Rangers followed him there, trying to, you know, obviously find him, and they actually ran into these four characters. So I think I can do this. That's a good one. Right there in the middle. Boom. As you see right there. And temporarily, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ended up becoming Power Rangers. So I don't know what happened to the other four, but Kimberly ended up teaming with Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Donatello, and they temporarily got the Tyrannosaurus, Saber-tooth Tiger, Triceratops, and Mastodon power coins, and they transformed into Power Rangers. So I think we're going to see at least one of the Ninja Turtles make Power Rangers Battle for the Grid sooner than later. Because with this, and this happened, this is actually canon in the comic books. This happened in the comic books. So, and besides the fact that, you know, for those of us who grew up watching Power Rangers, you know, Power Rangers in Space was around during the time they had this series called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Next Mutation, which was basically a live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show, and they actually did a couple crossover episodes of Power Rangers in Space, where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from that series actually fought alongside the Power Rangers, the Power Rangers in Space. So it was actually a cool thing. So they already have like history prior to the comic book, but I would not be surprised if one of these Ninja Turtles actually end up making it. Now, which one might make it, that's probably up for debate, because I don't know what their play styles might be, but for whatever reason, since it looked like they're going for the shock value factor in this batch of DLC characters, I would not be surprised if one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles makes it into the cut. I will not be surprised. Now, which one makes it? I mean, I don't think there's a character that has nunchucks yet, so maybe Michelangelo. But yeah, so that happened. So my next prediction that I want to do, let me turn this around, is characters that are pretty much, let me see which picture I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with this one. Oh dang, I gotta edit this. Give me 1 second. Oh man, this is terrible. Let me edit this picture real quick. I should have did this before. But no, this next picture I'm gonna show you, I have a strong feeling that they're gonna end up making it into the game, and I mean a very strong feeling. Okay, so we're gonna edit that. So the next prediction that I have, there we go, that ought to be good. For DLC that's coming, that my prediction are the, oh, that's bad. That's bad. Let's switch that around. Then we can take these off. I'm gonna keep that one up. There we go. My bad for that. I should have known that blind would have caused some issues. Here we go. The Omega Rangers. Now, for those of you who haven't, again, been reading the comic books, the Omega Rangers are actually, with the exception of the blue Omega Ranger, who's pretty much an alien. Let's see if I can pull up this other picture. I don't know if it's going to come up good because it's kind of wide. Where is it? There we go. I think that's good. That's good. Alright. There you go. It's, the Omega Rangers are actually 3 of the original Rangers, and 1 alien that they met along the lines in the comic book. So the Omega Rangers, they actually have these bands that are around their hands that act as their morphers, and they have a corresponding element. Now you see them transforming right now, morphing into their Omega suits. And basically, the black Omega Ranger is Zack, you know, the yellow Omega Ranger is Trini, the red Omega Ranger is Jason, and the blue Omega Ranger, who was revealed like later down the line, was this alien called Kia or Kaya or somebody, like, you know, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but I think it's Kaya. And they end up basically being another team of Rangers that helps try to fix all the damage that Lord Draken has done. And I have no doubt in my mind, oh wow, I don't know why that went away. And I have no doubt in my mind that that Battle for the Grid is due to get an Omega Ranger in there representing the Omega Rangers. Now, I'm pretty sure that they're not going to try to do any character overlapping. And what I mean by that is, you know, in Power Rangers, the history of Power Rangers, especially the first 3 seasons of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, basically going all the way up into space. Multiple Rangers had like multiple roles. So Tommy, you know, obviously he's known to having, like, you know, he had the Green Ranger role, of course, the Green Dragon Ranger. Then he went on to become the White Tiger Ranger. Then he went on to be Zeo Ranger 5 Red, the leader of the Zeo Rangers. Then he ended up becoming the Red Turbo Ranger, which eventually got passed on to TJ, which was the first black Red Ranger, the first black leader, bald head and all. But no, he was it got passed on to TJ, and then later on down the line in Dino Thunder, he ended up coming back as the Black Brachio Ranger for the Dino Thunder Rangers, as well as he came back in, I think, what was it? Even though he wasn't like a particular Ranger for that team, I think he came back in, like, what Ranger series was that? I don't know if it was Dino Charge or Beast Morphers, that he made another cameo appearance in, where he had like a Master Morpher, and he ended up having every power coin that he had, and he can transform into any Ranger that he's been in the past. But regardless of the fact, I don't know how I got sidetracked from that. One of these Omega Rangers, I have a strong feeling is going to make it into the game. Now, the one who I feel like is going to make it into the game, because one, they got Trey Triforia already in there, who would have been Jason, because, you know, Jason took up after him after Trey couldn't hold his powers, but Triforia is in the game, so that's out of the question. He's not one of them. I just thought I mentioned that. But yeah, so Jason is already in the game. He's the Red Tyranno Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So I doubt they would have him as that, as the Red Omega Ranger in there. You know, Trini, she's in there as, you know, she has on the Black Dragon Megazord suit that she customized from Lord Draken's Megazord, the Black Dragon Megazord from the comic books. So I doubt she's gonna be, you know, an Omega Ranger in there. Zack, they haven't mentioned whether or not the Mastodon Sentry is Zack. I doubt that it is, because his powers got taken and, you know, ended up becoming the Mastodon Sentries from the powers that Zack has. So there's a possibility he can make it into the game. But I think really when it comes right down to it, I think Kaya has the highest chance out of all four of them into making it as a representative of the Omega Rangers in Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Now all four of these, they have prominent roles in, you know, the comic books, but I think as far as, you know, a character out of these four making it to represent the Omega Rangers, I think Kaya definitely is going to be that character. Either Kaya, if not her, then Zack, because Zack hasn't been introduced into the game yet. His powers have, but not him. So that's another one. Now, as far as characters that I think are actually going to be DLC, these are the ones between the Ninja Turtles and the Omega Rangers. I think they're going to end up being in there. I do think for a fact that they're going to make it. Now, another thing, I don't have a picture of them, but Akuma, I mentioned earlier that Akuma made it into Legacy Wars. I will not be surprised if Akuma found his way into the Battle for the Grid at all. I will not be surprised. Akuma has done several crossovers in other games, from Tekken, you know what I'm saying, to several other games, I think, as well, to Asura's Wrath, you know, Tekken 7, and it was a couple other games that he made crossover appearances in. And Legacy Wars was the most recent that he made an appearance in. So when it comes to a character that's going to be added, more likely, because they're calling this the Street Fighter pack, and since Akuma is in Legacy Wars, it kind of wouldn't surprise me if, because for every DLC pack they've given 3 characters at a time. They only introduced Ryu and Chun-Li in this one. So if they're following what they did in the past, that leaves room for one more. And with this being a Street Fighter pack, Street Fighter, quote unquote, and with Akuma already being in Legacy Wars, kind of making it seem like Akuma is going to be the third, if they add a third to this this DLC pack. So I would not be surprised if Akuma makes the cut at all. I don't know if they're going to, but then again, I don't know if it would make sense, because again, Daishi is already kind of modeled after Akuma in this game. A lot of his moves are modeled after Akuma's, so they could still do it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, do we need the same thing in the game twice? I mean, I kind of know the answer to that, because when it comes to fighting games, you know, characters with different play styles, most notably or more infamously known, Ryu and Ken, and many other fighting games have done this, where they'll take similar play styles from and apply them to different characters. So I'm not surprised, and Tekken 7 has a lot of that going on right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if Akuma makes it anyway. So now that we got those out the way, I want to talk about the Rangers, not necessarily individual Rangers, but the series of Rangers that I would like to see have representation in Battle for the Grid within, like, before this year is over with. So these are where my predictions really start. So let me get these out real quick. So the first thing I would want to say, I would want to see is characters, and this is a really good one, in my opinion. I would like to see Lightspeed Rescue represented in Battle for the Grid. There's a very particular reason. For those of us who watch this and understand what I'm about to say, y'all probably already figured it out. So, as most of us know, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comes from the Sentai series in Japan. With Saban and Hasbro, they buy the footage. Well, not Hasbro, but Saban. They buy the stock footage from the Sentais over in Japan. They bring it to the United States and kind of edit it, and they use that footage for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers over here. At least that's what they was known to do, in the past with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Zeo, Turbo, which originally in Japan was actually a joke anime. It was about car safety, literally. It was meant to be taken as a joke, from what I hear over there. But those earlier days before, I want to say Wild Force, because Wild Force was kind of like a gray area where I think the first half of Wild Force, Saban had, they were in production, and I think halfway through it, that's when Disney bought them out, and they took over from like the second half of Wild Force going forward until Samurai, and they sold it back to Saban when Samurai came around. No, Disney sold it back after RPM, because RPM was just so rushed, where if you look at the corresponding Sentai from Japan where it came from, it was a much better ending, and RPM was just such a rushed, like, WTF. I don't even want to get into it, but yeah. So knowing that little nugget, where Lightspeed Rescue kind of differs from all the other shows that preceded it, was that the Sentai that Lightspeed Rescue was based off of was called Go-Go 5. And Go-Go 5, they never added a sixth Ranger to that group, to that team. So in America, when it came over here, it was such a tradition to add a sixth Ranger to the team after a while that they didn't have any stock footage to go off of. So they created the Titanium Ranger as the sixth Ranger to the Lightspeed Rescue team. So really, the Titanium Ranger is literally the first and only American-made Power Ranger that I could think of, because I don't think they did anything for Beast Morphers or anything like that. But the Titanium Ranger was literally the only American-made Power Ranger, and they had to do a lot of original footage. They had to record a lot of original footage for those scenes because they didn't have nothing to go off of from Japan. So knowing that, I think the Titanium Ranger needs to be added to, on top of the fact I think Lightspeed Rescue needs to be added to, the fold. The Titanium Ranger is the one Ranger I think out of that group that should be, representing Lightspeed Rescue because of the history of them. So most definitely, that's my prediction, is that eventually they're gonna add the Titanium Ranger to the game. So next up, the next Ranger series I think needs some representation. Is we gotta go with let's see. I don't know if it was stupid to do it like this, but Wild Force. Power Rangers Wild Force is one of those games, one of those series that, again, as I mentioned prior to, when I was explaining Lightspeed Rescue, Disney kind of took over production, and this is kind of like halfway through it, and it kind of took a life of its own after that. Not that they changed up the story or nothing, but Disney kind of took over from Wild Force until the end of RPM. Now, Wild Force was one of the, even though, you know, Disney kind of took ways, it had a very epic ending, and it was one of those Wild Force. It was just a great show, and to see a playstyle with the animal themes that, you know, Wild Force, they oftentimes they would fight on all fours, like literally, and it will be interesting to see how they incorporate those guys into Battle for the Grid. Now, which one would make it into the game? I kind of don't want to go on like a 6 Ranger streak, but the Lunar Wolf, which is the guy who's in between the Blue Shark and the Red Lion Power Rangers, or the Blue Ranger and the Red Ranger and Wild Force. I think the Lunar Wolf would definitely make a good addition to that. The reason why I also say that is because Merrick, I believe that's what his name, Merrick, he was actually a villain. He was actually an orc, as they called the, you know, the villains back then, and he ended up becoming a ranger once the curse was broken from the Sengoku mask. Or the Dooku mask. I don't know, like the wolf mask that was used. He used it to try to like save his friends, and he ended up becoming an orc because of that. So when the mask broke, of course, he ended up becoming a Lunar Wolf Ranger later on down the line. But then somehow the mask ended up taking a life of its own, and, you know, they had the, you know, the Wolf Orc and Merrick, those kind of fighting each other throughout the time. It was some good fights. And even towards the ending, I don't want to spoil it if you guys are currently watching Wild Force. Something cool happens. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Something cool happens between those two. But yeah. So the Titanium Ranger from Wild Force, from Lightspeed Rescue, and the Lunar Wolf from Power Rangers Wild Force. So next up, my next predictions are gonna be, let's see, we gotta, let's take it to, let's see, Power Rangers. You know what, let me get this right. And go boom. Let's shift into Turbo. Let's go to Power Rangers Turbo. Now, Power Rangers Turbo, again, was one of those, it was a very unique Power Ranger series that had some interesting characters. One character in particular, on top of the fact, I think one of the Rangers should make it into the game. Again, who? I have no clue. I don't think they have too many Green Rangers, so I would probably go with Adam. Well, wait, was it? No, I would say Carlos, because Carlos was the Green Ranger in Power Rangers Turbo after Adam left. When Adam left, he ended up becoming the Green Turbo Ranger. I mean, Carlos ended up becoming the Green Turbo Ranger. So I would like to think that he would be the one Ranger that will probably make it. I know that Justin was kind of like the fan favorite, especially when we was kids, because that was the first time a kid actually became a Power Ranger. A kid actually became a Power Ranger. I don't know how the way they kind of made it out to be is that when he morphed, his powers kind of grew him into like a human, or not a human, but like you know, like a teenager, and he fit into the suit. It was kind of weird. But we thought it was the coolest thing ever. So my guess would be between those two. If I were to guess who would be added from Power Rangers Turbo, if Turbo makes it into Battle for the Grid, it would be either Carlos or Justin. But Justin probably will get that spot because of I guess the notoriety and the fan base that he had at that time. Let me get that. So next up, hold on one second, because I gotta make sure that I get the I gotta make sure that I get this, because if I don't, I'm gonna feel bad. And these are characters who I absolutely think should make it into the game, if nothing else. Download that image, and we got to do this. All right. Another one I think need to make it. Now, of course, I'm using a comic book cover to do this, but regardless, the Psycho Rangers need to make it in the Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Come on, man. The Psycho Rangers were such a prominent group of evil Rangers since Lord Zed had them evil putties, them evil Ranger putties, which were bad even for its time. I mean, we thought it was the coolest thing ever because as kids, we just happy to see, like, you know, evil Power Rangers. We thought they were cool. But Power Rangers in space, when the Psycho Rangers got introduced, that was the one group of evil Rangers that really made us pay attention. Like, whoa, these guys they're serious. And they came so close to beating the Power Rangers so much, but it was kind of like an energy thing that Astronomer was using at the time, where I think Dark Scepter, I think that was his name, Dark Scepter or Dark Conda or whatever the hell that big lava monster was in Turbo. That big lava monster that was in Turbo. And in the beginning of Power Rangers in Space, I think the Psycho Rangers was kind of linked to him somehow, and any time they would fight, they were like siphoning energy from him. So it was kind of a unique dynamic. So anytime they would get so close as to beating the Power Rangers, you know, Astronomer would call them back, and it was like they were pulling too much energy, and she didn't want to get caught siphoning energy from him through the Psycho Rangers, making him weaker, and eventually her beating him and trying to usurping the throne or whatever. But most definitely the Psycho Rangers were a formidable team. Now, of course, the Green Psycho Ranger never existed. They did so in the comics, but in the original, in Power Rangers in Space, it was only red, blue, yellow, black, and pink. And they did like a little joke where the Silver Ranger from Power Rangers in Space, Zane, he kind of wore a Psycho Ranger suit and kind of tricked the Psycho Rangers in order to beat one of them. I think it was was it Psycho Black or was it Psycho Pink? I don't know, but they need to make it. One of them needs to make it into the game. One of them definitely needs to make it into the game. The Psycho Rangers were a dangerous group, and I find it very hard that knowing how prominent they were during Power Rangers in Space, they need to add come on, man, like they gotta add them. They gotta add them. They have to. It would be criminal to not see a Psycho Ranger in Battle for the Grid. Now, let me give me 1 second, because again, I gotta look these pictures up because I'm thinking about them as I'm going along. Let's see. Okay, we definitely got to get this guy. Let's do a full body on him. And let's get... if I'm not mistaken, he was in Power Rangers. No, he was... okay, so I was right. No, I was right. I was thinking about something for a second. And I was like, you know what? He was in a different series, so I was going to talk about him in a different light. But in light of me refreshing my memory just now, I got to put him up. Like, I got to put him up there. So I'm going to do both of these at once. Since they were both in the same series. And even though one of them came back for Power Rangers in Space, actually a lot of people came, not that they came back, but they did cameo appearances in the final battle. Yeah, but here we go. So the first guy that you see right here with the lights on him, with the stoplights, is the Blue Centurion. Now, Power Rangers Turbo didn't have a Sixth Ranger. They didn't have a Sixth Ranger either. That was like the first Power Ranger series that didn't have a Sixth Ranger added to him at the time. And the Sixth Ranger, and kind of the one who took that Sixth Ranger spot was somebody called the Blue Centurion. And it was like a robot, kind of like a RoboCop type of character that fought alongside the Rangers during that series. You know, he was kind of, and he had several situations. One where I guess the main villain kind of turned him evil for a little bit, and made it seem like the Rangers were breaking the law. So he started beating them up, and it was a funny time. But no, the Blue Centurion, he was a prominent figure in Power Rangers Turbo. He didn't last too long, but what I mean by prominent is that he left his mark. You know, I need to change my vocabulary, but he left his mark on Power Rangers Turbo as that Sixth Ranger guy. And when he left, he did leave a mark on, you know, on the viewers' minds as one of those characters that definitely helped out when times got rough. So I would like to see him make Battle for the Grid. Now, when Blue Centurion left, the Phantom Ranger came along. Now, this is around the time when they was making that transition from Power Rangers Turbo to Power Rangers in Space. Because remember when I said Power Rangers Turbo, back then, they kind of made a transition with the current cast going into the next Power Ranger series. And when Turbo, when the command center, I was finna call it headquarters, but when the command center in Power Rangers Turbo got destroyed by Divatox, I think that was her name. I believe he led him to. No, I take that back. Cause I'm thinking of something else, but I think he had something to do with letting them know that if they were able to get into NASA, and they basically broke into NASA and took a space shuttle up to the Astro Megaship, where of course they met Andros and the new their new headquarters, which was, you know, the Astro Megaship, and they got their powers from, you know, the new morphers that they got. But yeah, he kind of took over that Sixth Ranger spot, and he didn't really, I don't remember him lasting too long either. But at the time, he had some cool moves that I would like to see get translated into a fighting game, such as Battle for the Grid. I think what happened to him, I think that little red ruby on his chest got taken, and he ended up, I think, I don't want to say he died, but he kind of like, I don't know if he went into like a stasis or if he went into like some type of coma or something. I don't know. I need to refresh my memory on Power Rangers Turbo, but most definitely he was one of those characters. And knowing these two, I would like to see the Phantom Ranger more so than Blue Centurion, but both of them need to be added to, you know, the roster. So next up, we got to talk about, let's see, what else we got? I did that. Okay, boom. Now let's do that sideways. Ninja Storm. Now this was one of those fun series where I just think they can fit a ninja in this in Power. Like just seeing someone's moveset, they can definitely fit him in this game. Now, which character I feel might make it in the game? I would like to think the Red Ranger would make it, kinda, because the actor actually he died. I don't know what happened to him. I can't remember what happened to him. I don't know if he had a heart attack or like a blood condition or something, or was he stabbed, or am I thinking of another one? I don't know, but the Red Ranger from this series, the actor, he ended up dying somehow, and it was a sad day for any Power Ranger fan, especially for those who actually watched Ninja Storm. He did a good job, but I'm trying to think. I would like to think maybe one of the Thunder Rangers might make it. Now, this particular series had like three different separate teams, where they had the green, not the green, but the red, yellow, and blue were the original Rangers that were introduced, the first Rangers that were introduced. Later on down the line, the Crimson Thunder and the Navy Thunder Rangers from the Thunder Ninja Academy ended up coming. They was introduced as like evil villains, basically trying to get revenge for their parents, because they thought the Wind Ninjas, the red, yellow, and blue, were he thought their sensei was responsible for killing their parents, so they were out for revenge. And once they found out they got tricked, they ended up becoming cool and what have you. And then later on down the line, a portal opened up and they had to go back in time to get the Green Samurai powers. Hence the reason why, the Green Ranger was there. But the Green Samurai Ranger was there amongst a bunch of ninjas, right? But yeah, if I was to see anybody making it into this game, I would want to think maybe the Crimson Thunder Ranger would make it. I want to say the Green Samurai Ranger would make it, but the thing is, I don't want to keep saying all the. I would like to think that every character, every series representation, just wouldn't be them adding the sixth Ranger from that series. I think they had some characters that had a better character development than some other ones in their series, and I would like to see pretty much the Crimson Thunder Ranger make it into the roster. But it's whoever if they can look back at the series and see the fighting style of each one, I would like to. It's certain characters from that makes me just rub my head and be like, you know what? Because I see the playstyle of Cam, who's the Green Samurai Ranger. I'm thinking like he did some pretty cool stuff that I could see being translated into the game. But Dustin, who was the yellow, the Yellow Lion, he used Earth-based moves, so he did a lot of moves where I remember there was a lot of fight scenes where he would get like swept, like somebody would sweep at his feet. He would fall on his back and then like disappear underground. So to see I wonder if they was gonna do something like that with a counter stance, you know what I mean, and kind of like make him, disappear and have like all these. That would be cool. That would be cool to see. The Thunder Ninjas were kind of like more aggressive than the other ones, but Dustin would probably be the. Now that I think about it, Dustin would probably be a good addition to Battle for the Grid, because I can see some cool stuff that they can do with him that they can't do with the other ones, and I don't think that playstyle has been represented in Battle for the Grid yet. They don't have a character that can do any type of counters like that in the game, and I think that would be dope if they added him to the game. Now, before I leave, we got to talk about some Megazords. We got to talk about some Megazords because I think the Megazords that they have are good, but they need to add some more. So with the one, I think the Megazords they have right now is the Dragon Zord. They have Giant Goldar. They have the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Megazord, the original Megazord. They put the SPD Megazord in there. The Delta Megazord. Who else? They put the Samurai Megazord in there. I feel like I'm missing one, but I think those are the four. Those are the four that they added. There's that. You know what? I think I'm gonna go with these. I think it's just perfect. And they got so many options they could go with. Hold on. I should have had these ready already, but here we go. We'll download that. And what we got? Most definitely they gotta add that. I know it sucks that I'm doing it like this, but like I said, I didn't think to add these ahead of time. I'm kind of thinking these as I go along. Let's see. We gotta do that. I mean, do already have Pyramidas in the game, so that won't make sense. Who else? Ooh, you know what? Since they do, it's not the best picture in the world, but you know what? It kind of goes. I think I'm gonna just stick with these for now. I don't want to do too much. But these Megazords right here are definitely the ones that catch my attention more so than anything. We're gonna end it after this, so I guess we can get rid of that just for the time being. So the Megazords, I would like to see them add. And let me start off with these three first. All right. So the first three that I would like to see is any of these three from Power Rangers Zeo. Now they do have Pyramidas in there with the Gold Ranger in the game already, but I would like to see the Red Battle Zord the Zeo Megazord or the Super Zeo Zord in Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Now, what's funny is that all three of these Zords, along with Pyramidas, created the Zeo Ultra Zord. They all combined together, which basically wasn't really a combination of anything. It's just Pyramidas kind of stood up on his hind legs, and they kind of like had compartments where the entire Megazord fit inside. And it was kind of like a lazy design, but I do think one of these Megazords should make it into the game. I would like to see one of these Megazords, like the Red Battle Warrior, more than anything. I want to see one of them make it into the game, more so than these two, because they kind of got regular Megazords already, but they don't have that one Megazord that the Ranger only had access to, and I kind of want to see that make it into the game, because I could see them with the moves that the Red Battle Zord had. Most definitely, I could see being used in the game. So let's see, we gotta. Let's see, so we got the Thunder Megazord from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We have, what else? Got the Drive Max Megazord from Operation Overdrive. And I guess I'll do the RPM Ultra Zord from RPM. So out of these three, I would like to see one of these make it. Most definitely. I would like to see all these make it into the game, obviously, because since none of these, well, with the exception of the Thunderzord, you know, that came from the season 2 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they don't really have any representation in the game. These two series right here, you know, more so RPM and Operation Overdrive, because they don't, you know, like we don't have any representation for that in Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. So I would like to see one of them make it into the game. Again, mind you, I'm not explaining everything in full detail, because mind you, I've seen these series before as a kid, so I'm thinking about all the moves that the Megazords had. And you know, the way they designed the Megazords in Battle for the Grid is that there's 3 different attacks that the Megazord can do when you summon it. So I'm thinking of the 3 moves that can be done with these. You know, they have like like with, for example, like the RPM Ultra Zord. He has a shark fin that kind of like spins around and rotates. So I can assume in them like slamming it or just like holding it in position and kind of doing multiple hits with that. He has the cannon on his left arm, on his right arm, that he can shoot. And I'm pretty sure they can think of like a third thing to do. With the Drive Max, I know that he had like a claw he could shoot out. You could kind of see it on his arm, like on its arm. He has a sword he can slam down, which they pretty much, that's kind of like typical. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I think he also had like a pickaxe or something, because from what I can remember, the Megazord's arms were interchangeable in Operation Overdrive. So they could do something like that. And I want to do one more that kind of got my attention. Let me see. Give me a second. There's one more. I should do like a couple more. They did. Oh, that's what it was called. Okay. Might as well go ahead and knock these two out the way, because these definitely are two that I want to see. Gotta reload it real quick. I did that out of nowhere for whatever reason. Let's get these. So let me get this. And let me get this. Alright. So this is pretty much what I want to see in Battle for the Grid. The Astro Mega Ship and the Mega Voyager Megazords. Those two really got my attention. And again, Power Rangers in space doesn't have any representation, so when it comes to having a Megazord from the show, you know, those two Megazords right there, probably more so the Mega Voyager than the Astro Mega Ship. I would like to think that the Mega Voyager has a better chance at making it into the game than, because this is kind of like the basic Megazord right here. This is like the standard. The Mega Voyager was kind of like the upgrade, so it's more that they can do with this as far as attacks than they can do with this. Basically, what they can do with this Megazord, you know, the other Megazords are already doing, and I know they would like to add more variety. I would like to think they would like to add more variety to the game, but yeah, so more so probably the Mega Ship, the Mega Voyager would make it more so than anything else. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the predictions, my future DLC predictions for Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Again, I'm excited that they continuing to support the game. Maybe not as excited as other people, but I'm not mad considering that, you know, Ryu Ranger and the Blue Hawk Ranger, or, you know, Ryu and Chun-Li were in Legacy Wars, which is the mobile game, and, you know, they brought them into the main game, or they brought it into the console game. It doesn't surprise me, and I can see Akuma being added to this pack as well, so it won't surprise me either. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and who knows, maybe some of these characters will actually be DLC, so we'll see. So until next time, remember, be humble in victory, be gracious in defeat, show no mercy in battle. World Warriors Collective.